what Robert's going through are very universal things, falling in love and trying to raise a family. And then, of course, dealing with grief and loss. And it was a nice focused challenge to play the character without having to tell the audience what I was feeling.
Beautiful, ain't it?
What is?
All of it. Every bit of it.
Can you talk about how you collaborated on this? It's adapted from a novella.
The big thing was like trying to get underneath the area that it had come from and the world that it had come from. And so as part of that, we went up to the panhandle of Idaho as we were writing into the area where the story's set and where Dennis Johnson wrote it and lived for a while. And we're just there, just seeing, meeting logging families and meeting some of the members of the Kootenai tribe who are reintroducing these old sturgeon into the waterways. The fish that in the beginning of the film is like this 11-foot fish that's hanging from a pole that doesn't exist anymore, but you can see all these photos in the local museum there. Another big part of it is something that Kerry's character Claire starts talking about. We were driving around up there and we hired a naturalist for the day to take us around, and there's this beautiful area up in it's almost to the border of Canada. It's a beautiful area where you can see these mountains over on one side. You're kind of driving through this wide valley that almost looks like the bottom of an old riverbank. And we learned that all of that used to be under a glacier. It was 3,000 feet of ice up there. And there's many, many eons ago, and through the process of glaciation, it not only churned up that land, but then when all those glaciers broke, it flooded the area and created all these valleys between the mountains. And that ended up just becoming not only these this beautiful sentiment that Kerry so perfectly delivered, but also spoke to the themes of the story. That we're watching this man go through something very specific and deal with his grief, but also go through something timeless that all of us have gone through kind of forever.
As Robert, a terrific performance, Joel. Really, one that so much of it is played on your face and your eyes and things, and not a whole lot of dialogue. He's a man of not of a lot of words, but we know so much about him looking at him. Is that part of what attracted you to playing this character?
I was really obsessed with the book. Quite often when you get asked about doing something, you quickly try and find the book, or if it's based on something. I had already read the novella back in, I guess it was about 4 years before Clint reached out. And then it felt too kind of excellent and weirdly serendipitous that he'd asked me about playing Robert. I was just attracted to this film because of its rumination on life and the fleeting nature of life and the celebration of ordinary men. And I think, it reminded me so much of men in the generations of my family that get easily forgotten but make their mark on the world. And these men are often very non-verbal people, or push their feelings down, don't presume to be able to, or don't want to, for whatever reason, express themselves so much. And I felt like the audience would be able to track these things because what Robert's going through are very universal things, falling in love and trying to raise a family and trying to work out how work and life can fit together. And then, of course, the things, if you've lived long enough or certain points in your life, you experience these really heavy things, dealing with grief and loss. And it was a nice focused challenge to play the character without having to tell the audience what I was feeling.
You don't have a lot of dialogue here. I want to talk about the accents, because you may have noticed Joel has one. And so does Kerry.
It was a really fun but amazing thing to see both of them in their own ways, but playing these very American characters, and with Joel specifically, just watching him make it seem so effortless, but doing this intense physical role and an intensely emotionally taxing role while also in an accent.
And Kerry, for you as Claire, also dealing with that, as well as somebody who's also gone through grief and now is coming out of it and a whole new life. And she just pops in this movie and just as a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it's always a sign of a really well-written script when all the little parts are really well written. And this was like, I felt like that. All of the people that come into his life or so, like it was all on the page really. You know, there was, a lot of it is, she says a lot that kind of gives away a lot of how to portray her. And it was just the script as a whole, the whole movie itself. It was so beautiful on the page. It was like really moving in places where it wasn't even sad. It kind of made me cry. Particularly at that scene at the end when he's in the plane, you know, and he smiles. I don't know why, I can't articulate as to why that makes me, like, it doesn't make me sad, but there's something about it. It's like you kind of wish him well or something. So yeah, I just wanted to be in it.
And Bill Macy, another great performance from you as well. As Arn Peoples, and he's quite a character, and if I'm talking about someone who doesn't have a whole lot of words, Arn is never at a loss for words.
I love Arn Peoples. I love this script. Just as Kerry said, it's a beautiful script. It was a no-brainer. I think I got it Friday night. I read it Saturday morning. I called everyone by noon. It was all beautifully well drawn, and Arn in particular, he's a complicated guy, and it's all in the words. There's no exposition. It's just the way he is.
We have a couple of artisans here who have made it, and the cinematography in this is just exceptional.
We really wanted to, as Clint said, make it approachable, even though it is a period piece. And one of the things we discussed, okay, let's make it as grounded as possible, and let's make it feel like we're actually in those environments with those characters, living with them. And to be able to do that, we also needed a smaller footprint, like we had on Jockey. That was a much smaller movie, but we wanted to translate that into Train Dreams, and not having lights around, not having a big footprint could allow them, and Clint does that really well, to encourage the actors to improvise and to inhabit that space. And especially at the cabin with Felicity and Joe, same thing with the fire. We wanted it to feel real. We wanted the right flickering. We wanted the right temperature. We want the feeling of a real fire around them.
And Parker Laramie, first off, that's a great name. Sounds like it's out of a novel. And you're the film editor here, and so you're dealing with periods passing by and years passing by and everything. Was there a particular challenge in the way you cut this film?
Yeah, you're given this like very wide range of footage. I think Clint and I spent a lot of time in the edit sort of rearranging the structure and trying to figure out ways to keep it moving forward while also taking time to linger. This is obviously a film that loves to linger. I don't know, there isn't a ton of structure to that. You kind of have to approach the material very organically. I mean, it's very much like you would shoot things in a way where the actors can inhabit the space. The edit was a case of like, you know, looking at the footage for what it is rather than what was on the script. Despite the fact that the script was beautifully written, and obviously we're working from a book that's like renowned, and Dennis Johnson's language is so rich. But I don't know, you get in the edit and then you kind of have to like rewrite the whole thing, right? That's what they always say. So
how did you put that whole sequence at the end in the plane as he's flying around? How did you put that whole thing together? What were the decisions that you had to make in making that work as beautifully as it does? So it's so fluid.
I remember I did a first edit that sort of got the bones of it, but then we went through several iterations of like, okay, what are the visions that he's going to be seeing? You know, they had shot some things that were specifically for that sequence. And then obviously you see like we ended up going with, you know, this sort of like review of the film. If you look closely though, a lot of the takes that are in there are actually alternate takes for what you see earlier in the film, where when you're reviewing a memory, you know, it always alters a little bit in your mind. And so by having these multiple takes of things, it sort of makes it feel a little bit more fresh when you're coming back to it. It's not just sort of like a trailer for the film that you just watched, I guess.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
you all.
Thanks for being here, everyone.